Double Asteroid Redirection Test, DART. In September 2022, for the first time in history, humanity intentionally changed the trajectory of an object in space. This wasn't a movie. It was real. NASA launched a spacecraft called DART, Double Asteroid Redirection Test, directly into an asteroid called Dimorphos, roughly 160 meters in diameter. The goal was simple and insane at the same time. Hit it at high speed and see if it could alter the object's orbit. Dimorphos posed no threat to Earth. It was a test, a rehearsal for the day the threat is real. The impact happened at over 11 kilometers per second. The collision was live-streamed by NASA. More than 1 million people watched in real time as the spacecraft's camera sent its final image, the rocky surface of the asteroid filling the entire frame. And then the signal went dark. Impact confirmed. The results, published in 2023 in the journal Nature, exceeded expectations. Dimorphos's orbital period around its larger asteroid was reduced by 33 minutes. The models had projected, at best, a change of 73 seconds. The cloud of debris ejected by the impact amplified the push. The rocks flying out at high speed acted as additional thrusters. What this means in practice? If a dangerous asteroid is detected with enough warning, years or decades before a projected impact, a deliberate collision can deflect its path enough to save the planet. The problem is no longer technical. It's time. The earlier we detect it, the easier it is to deflect. mRNA. For decades, a Hungarian researcher named Katalin Karikó tried to convince the scientific world that messenger RNA could be used as medicine. Nobody wanted to listen. She was demoted at the university where she worked, lost her funding, and was diagnosed with cancer along the way. She kept going anyway. The technical problem she faced was brutal. When synthetic RNA was injected into an organism, the immune system recognized it as an invader and destroyed it before it could do anything useful. In 2005, working with immunologist Drew Weissman, Karikó discovered how to chemically modify RNA so the body would stop attacking it. The immune system let it through. The molecule reached the cells read the instruction, and produced whatever protein you wanted them to produce. The technology spent another 15 years in quiet development. Then came COVID-19. In January 2020, scientists at Moderna sequenced the genetic code of the new virus. Within 2 days, they had the design of an mRNA-based vaccine. 2 days. A traditional vaccine would have taken years. The approval process took longer than the development itself. What mRNA technology represents goes far beyond COVID. Today, there are vaccines in development against HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and several types of cancer using the same platform. The logic is the same. Program the body's own cells to produce a specific response against whatever target you define. If a pandemic with extinction-level potential emerges tomorrow, our response speed today is incomparably faster than it was 10 years ago. And it all started with a researcher nobody wanted to Svalbard Seed Vault. In 2008, Syria deposited an entire seed collection in a vault located 1,300 kilometers above the Arctic Circle, inside a permafrost mountain in Norway. A few years later, the civil war destroyed the original laboratory in Aleppo where those seeds were kept. In 2015, Syria made a withdrawal request. The seeds were there, intact. It was the first time the vault was used for the purpose it was built for. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault, informally known as the Doomsday Vault, has existed since 2008 and functions as a physical backup of the planet's agricultural diversity. 2/3 of all human food comes from just 9 plants today. 9. If a disease, severe climate shift, or global collapse eliminates currently cultivated varieties, humanity needs somewhere to start over. The vault sits 130 meters inside solid rock, artificially cooled to -18 degrees Celsius. Even if the power supply fails completely, the surrounding permafrost keeps temperatures low for decades. It was designed to survive floods, earthquakes, and conflict. In October 2024, It received over 30,000 new seed samples from 21 countries, including Palestine and Sudan, two places in active conflict at the time of the deposit. Today, the vault holds over 1.3 million seed varieties, representing more than 5,000 different species from almost every country in the world. Losing a plant variety, researchers say, is as irreversible as the extinction of any animal. The vault exists so that loss is never permanent. Solar geoengineering. There is a plan being seriously considered by scientists at some of the most respected universities in the world that involves injecting reflective particles into the stratosphere to block part of the sun's light and artificially cool the planet. If that sounds like the plot of a disaster movie, it's because it's exactly the kind of idea that seemed like science fiction until recently. The technology is called stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI. The inspiration came from a natural phenomenon already observed multiple times: large-scale volcanic eruptions. When Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines in 1991, it launched tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. Global average temperatures dropped approximately half a degree Celsius over the following 2 years. Scientists observed this and asked the obvious and uncomfortable question: what if we did this on purpose? The proposal is to use high-altitude aircraft to continuously disperse reflective particles in the stratosphere, creating a partial shield against solar radiation. Computer models indicate the technique could reduce global temperatures significantly and relatively quickly, in years, not decades. The problem is that nobody knows exactly what else it would do. Risks include altered rainfall patterns, damage to the ozone layer, and what's known as the termination shock. If the program were abruptly stopped for any political or financial reason, the planet would warm back up at a far greater speed than it would have naturally, leaving no time to adapt. In 2025, global funding for solar geoengineering research tripled compared to the previous year. The United Kingdom committed £57 million just to study the feasibility of the technique. The discussion has left the theoretical stage, but the decision to use it, if necessary, still belongs to no one in particular. And that may be the biggest problem of all. Biodefense. In 2019, a virus left a Chinese city, and within 3 months was on every continent. The world took weeks to understand what was happening, months to close borders, and over a year to have a vaccine available at scale. More than 7 million recorded deaths later, the question left hanging was the most obvious one possible. How did we not see this coming? The uncomfortable answer is that global disease surveillance systems existed, but were fragmented, slow, and depended on governments voluntarily reporting information they sometimes had political interest in hiding. The virus spread faster than the data. Since then, the architecture of biological threat detection has changed significantly. The genetic sequencing system that used to take weeks to identify a new pathogen can now do it in hours. Networks of sensors installed in airports, urban sewage systems, and hospitals continuously monitor for the presence of unknown infectious agents before clinical cases appear. The logic is the same as a smoke detector. You want to know before the fire, not during it. The scenario biosecurity experts actually fear is not a repeat of COVID. It's an engineered pathogen, designed in a laboratory, deliberately or by accident, with the transmissibility of measles combined with the lethality of Ebola. That kind of agent could eliminate a significant fraction of the global population before being identified. The defense against this is not just medical. It's intelligence, diplomacy, and global data infrastructure operating in real time. We have more pieces of that system than we did in 2019, but we still don't have the complete system. Multiplane colonization. Elon Musk has a line that sums up the entire logic of Mars colonization in a way that's hard to argue with. You don't back up one important file on a single hard drive, you make copies in different places. All of humanity is on one planet. If something goes wrong here, there is no second chance. The idea of using another planet as life insurance for the human species isn't new. Carl Sagan was writing about it in the 1970s. Stephen Hawking spent the last decades of his life repeating that space colonization wasn't optional. It was necessary. What has changed recently is that for the first time, there is private infrastructure being built toward that goal in concrete terms. SpaceX's Starship is the centerpiece of that plan. It's the largest rocket ever built, designed to transport large amounts of cargo and people to Mars on a recurring basis and at progressively lower cost per trip. Musk's stated goal is to establish a self-sustaining colony on the planet with at least 1 million inhabitants, large enough to maintain genetic and civilizational diversity even if Earth became uninhabitable. The obstacles are enormous and real. Mars has no protective magnetic field, meaning constant exposure to cosmic radiation. The atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide, and atmospheric pressure is less than 1% of Earth's. Producing food, water, and oxygen in that environment requires technology still being developed. But the central argument remains intact. A civilization distributed across more than one planet is exponentially harder to extinguish than one concentrated at a single point. It's survival mathematics. And for the first time in history, we are technically close enough that the conversation is about engineering, not fiction. Genome arc. In 2015, a group of scientists began asking a question nobody had asked seriously before. What if we sequenced and archived the complete DNA of every species of animal, plant, and fungus on the planet before they disappeared? Not partial samples, the entire genome of every species. A complete genetic library of life on Earth. The project is called Genome Arc, and is part of a larger initiative called the Earth Biogenome Project. The goal is to sequence the genomes of approximately 1.8 million known eukaryotic species, everything with a nucleated cell, within 10 years. It is probably the most ambitious biological data collection project ever attempted by science. We are in the middle of the 6th mass extinction in Earth's history, the only one caused by a single species. The current extinction rate is estimated at between 100 and 1,000 times higher than the natural background rate. Species are disappearing before they are even cataloged. Genome Arc exists to ensure that at least the genetic code is not lost along with the animal. Genetic resurrection technology, using preserved DNA to recreate extinct species, is in early but advancing stages. The startup Colossal Biosciences already has active projects to bring back the woolly mammoth, the Tasmanian tiger, and the passenger pigeon using genetic editing on closely related living species. If the planet's biodiversity is severely compromised by climate collapse or another catastrophic event, having the genetic code archived may be the difference between a planet that can recover and one that cannot. Gravity tractor. In 2005, 2 NASA astronauts published a proposal in the journal Nature for deflecting an asteroid that involves no explosion, no collision, and no physical contact with the object whatsoever. The idea is to park a sufficiently massive spacecraft near the asteroid and simply stay there. Any 2 objects with mass attract each other gravitationally. If you place a large enough spacecraft close to an asteroid and hold that position for long enough, the gravitational attraction between the 2 objects begins pulling the asteroid very slightly toward the spacecraft. The craft continuously adjusts its thrusters to maintain a constant distance without drifting away or colliding. The net result is that the spacecraft acts as an invisible tugboat, slowly nudging the asteroid's trajectory without ever touching it. The advantage over kinetic impact like DART is significant. It works on asteroids of any composition and structure, including so-called rubble pile asteroids, loose clusters of rock and dust with no internal cohesion that a high-speed collision could fragment into multiple smaller projectiles instead of deflecting. The disadvantage is equally obvious. It needs a lot of time. Years, possibly decades of continuous operation to produce sufficient deflection. Which means detecting the threat early enough isn't just convenient, it's the only way the method works at all. The gravity tractor has never been tested in practice. It remains a theoretically validated solution waiting for the right problem, and the time needed to solve it. These are the tools we have. Some have already been tested, others are still waiting for the right problem. None of them work alone, and none of them work without time. What they all have in common is that they depend on decisions made before the crisis, not during it. If you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.